You are now listening to the Training Club Podcast, the show for personal trainers who want to build a lasting career in the fitness industry. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/club. If you want to stick around the fitness industry and you are a personal trainer, you have to focus on career development. And that is one of the things that Becca and I are talking to Lindsey Calof about today in our interview with her. Lindsey is a fractional product and operations leader for fitness companies who focuses on retention and revenue growth with the companies that she works for. She knows her stuff. She's going to talk about her history in the industry as well as what she does right now. A few of the things that we are going to talk about that are going to benefit you most. First of all, building systems and structure into your work, whether you're part of a big fitness company or you are just out on your own as a solopreneur. You need to give some attention to this. We're going to get your gears turning on ways you can do that in our conversation. Lindsey is also a huge fan of LinkedIn. She's going to get us thinking about being more active over on LinkedIn. She's going to tell you why. So check that part out and listen carefully there. And then finally, fun. Making sure that you enjoy what you are doing in order to stick around. Such a great piece of our work. This work should be fun. And she's going to talk about how many lose sight of that important factor. We want you to think about how you can hang on to it. Before we dive into this awesome interview with Lindsey, I want to talk to you about something that has been, for me, a game changer in my business. And this is something that you need to check in on, whether, again, you're part of a big company or you're working on your own. Especially if you're working on your own, you need a good CRM, something that's going to help you with reaching out to clients and then helps you keep track of leads and the sales process, follow-ups. If you don't have something like that, or if the one you have is just bogged down and too complicated, I recommend using Close CRM. Close, C-L-O-S-E. You can get more info over at beginwithin.fit/close CRM. Go check it out and get a trial set up there with my affiliate link. Give it a try. You are going to absolutely love what it can do for your business, the automations that you can build. I love that it prospects for me and books appointments for me while I'm sleeping. And as I shopped around, this is the one for me that was easiest to use. They helped me get it all set up. And I got started with it because a big fitness company that I did some consulting with was using it. And after I worked with them and saw how it works, I was like, man, I'm going to get over to Close CRM myself. And so even though it was a little bit of work transferring over, it was well worth it because it has helped me so much with business, with sales, and with just staying organized. So go check it out, beginwithin.fit/close CRM. Let's dive into our interview with Lindsey Calof.
I live in Minneapolis, and it's a great place to be if you're interested in moving past being a trainer. But so we have Lifetime Corporate here. We have Anytime Fitness Corporate. We also have Lift Brands, which is the Snap. I didn't have aspirations to be in anything in terms of those spaces. I started as a trainer. It was the job I could get. I think it was 2009 when there was a lack of roles, which, again, as a new grad, I didn't have any knowledge of. I just knew I could get a job and I needed a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working as a personal trainer and quickly got a crash course in sales and shifted a role to a job in personal training at Anytime Fitness. So I worked for a franchisee for a number of years, helped him build a number of businesses and locations across a couple different states. Something that we built together was a health coaching product utilizing the app that Anytime had built. that caught attention of the corporate office, and I made some friends over there. A position became available to hop into their operations department and help them figure out. Monetize was a big word, but nobody had a clear idea of how to do that. And so there was an opportunity to help give them some, I suppose, life to breathe in to their digital programming and how to connect what was happening in the gyms and create an additional revenue stream within, a digital health coaching program. So I got brought into the corporate office. That was so fun. I learned a lot. I'd never been in a corporate environment before. So again, crash course in learning. We all have our pandemic story, and mine was I had a baby and I was sending him to daycare every day. And a couple years into COVID, I just decided I'm ready to move on and looked at roles. I wasn't finding anything that felt um, like me or something that made me excited. And so I thought, after working with a business coach for a bit, is there a way for me to use the job I was doing at corporate, which had become innovation? So anything extra in terms of revenue, if it was nutrition or physical therapy, or there were a lot of fails that came across my desk that we needed to test out. I was in charge of testing those products and then building operations to support them within an A10 environment. And I really wanted to do that for other companies. And so it took a while to get comfortable with communicating that message that I wanted to do that for other companies and,
Sure.
um, I suppose, advertise it. But as soon as I got a footing to do that, I started to book contracts. And so that's the work that I do now. If there is something additional in terms of revenue that a fitness or wellness company is interested in building, I come in and do the testing, the vetting for the product. I build the operations. Sometimes it takes a backwards approach and creating some good operations for the addition, like their existing product first, so I can build playbooks. Um, and another piece of the work that I do that I'm realizing I really enjoy is digital courses as well.
Mm, got it. Wow. Yeah, I think as you're saying that, I was like, okay, I could see the value of what you mentioned about helping kind of solidify what's already happening before there's more added on top of it. So, what it makes me curious, like, what are some of the areas that you see that need to be like firmed up, or is it just better SOPs around hiring and training in new trainers? That's something that Becca and I talk a lot about. Or is it other areas of the business? Like, what are you seeing?
Certainly, I feel like expectation setting
Mm,
is really important, especially coming out of, and I know that it was 4 years ago, but I feel like the pandemic forced everybody to work differently, and there can be a lot of good ideas that are floating because we think we know what consumers need. So then that means there are different roles that are created or initiatives that are built to support technology, and that creates a lot more questions about what your job is. And so I feel like expectations are the first piece of the puzzle.
hmm.
And especially when it comes to trainers, if they're asked to create something additional in their job description or their day to day, especially if it's using a digital tool, it's creating expectations around how that'll actually work within your day to day, because plopping it right on top of it is going to just create confusion and then a lack of execution.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so expectations in terms of like, I guess I'm curious to get more specific, like job description, or what success looks like in terms of financial expectations. What what
I
have you
think,
found to be
like,
helpful?
yeah, and totally. In my space, it's all about execution and what it looks like for your day to day. So revenue will follow, but, is this something that we've proved out to be beneficial for both you and the client? So there could be a little bit of work to sell the personal trainer or manager or person who's utilizing a
Yeah,
tool that's new. It is a persuasion process, and sometimes that needs to happen with data. So there's a buy in. Um, and then, a trainer is so busy making sure that their clients are happy and possibly that they've got their their revenue where it's supposed to be and their book of business where it's supposed to be for the day. So adding something new feels daunting until you work with them to break it down and help them see where um where it's important to be successful, but like what is important in my day, and then how do I break it down to make sure that something actually happens. And if they don't know that, then it's really hard for them to move forward.
yeah. Wow. Well, Becca and I were just talking the other day about having clear conversations about how financial aspects of the business work as a team. And I think, we were talking about, hey, this is probably an opportunity for a lot of business owners in communicating with their whole team. Like, hey, here's how we get paid. Here's how the business is successful.
Mhm.
And I'm imagining that those types of conversations would really help pave the way for adding additional streams of revenue or new operations that are going to try to benefit the whole. Like sometimes it'd be like, all you're doing is asking me to do more. Why are we, what's
Mhm.
this about? Right? How's it going to help my clients? How's it going to help the business? And if we haven't had those conversations, it can be like just an extra burden or an extra thing now that they're asking me to do on top of the things I'm working hard to try to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's used to what everybody's used to that comfortable drumbeat of what
Yeah.
has worked in the past. Um, and so it it does come with a little bit of barrier breakdown, I suppose, and vulnerability in what it means to add something new in your
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for letting me get curious about some of that stuff that you're dealing with every day. Um, could we change gears a little and just talk about the industry as a whole and what you've seen in your personal experience or what you're seeing now as you're working with other companies, fitness companies specifically, that are opportunities for trainers to have better careers, like more, almost as though we're speaking to the trainer. All right, you're here.
Mhm.
You want to have a more successful career. There's maybe more to it than you're seeing or what you're thinking. What
Mhm.
would what would be maybe one or two of those things that you've seen? Like if you could say anything to a group of brand new personal trainers.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, here you are. Like you're ready to go. But here's some things to keep in mind so that you can have a lasting career in this industry. What might it
So
be?
good. I love that question. I have a soft spot for franchises.
Okay.
Um, because I was a part of one and because I've worked for with a few now since I started working for myself. And I've seen a lot of consistencies within um, the club owners and also the leaders within fitness franchises. So, what are the big ones? Okay, I have a soft spot for Anytime Fitness. Will not lie. It was such a great spot to start. I've worked for Alloy Personal Training as another really good one.
Yeah.
And they have an Anytime Fitness connection. I don't have a lot of affiliation with F45 or Orange Theories, but those are other ones that come to mind. And the reason I say that is because you do get that structure of a system that has performed well and has performed to the point where it's scalable. And so people know the brand, which is helpful. And also you're coming to the table with proven tools. And sometimes it can be challenging if you hop into a one, you know, a single brick and mortar spot, the gym that's, kind of exciting and it's
Yeah.
new. But they're also building the plane as you are coming into it. And that can come with challenges as an employee. The great thing about a franchise is that it is typically, and you'll have to meet the club owner and vet them out a little bit, but usually more often than not, it is coming from people that have a lot of care. And sometimes it's
Mm.
the next step that they're taking after working in the corporate world. I just had so many friends, and it was so cool working at corporate anytime because I got a chance. I felt like our little bubble was the best bubble ever. And then I got a chance to meet all of these owners that had their own stories and their own type of community and culture that they built. And so to have a chance to be a part of that, I think is really helpful for a new trainer to look for a franchise. But then also because you have that brand, you know that there's going to be, I suppose, look for the brand, but then also you have some opportunity to vet out club owners that feel like a good fit for you and somebody that's interested in your success. Because you won't always get somebody that you connect with right away. Um, and so I'd encourage you to be a little bit picky in that as well.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
And we kind of we were talking, hey, we all have a little bit different background, but we've all had experience in the working with a franchise. And sometimes I've felt like the opposite just because that's how I came up. I was like, man, I wish we didn't have this and wish we didn't have to deal with this. And so I appreciate your perspective on, hey, there's a lot of good to this. Um, Becca, what's your thought on that? Like
Yeah.
you came from the opposite, like that standalone brick and mortar, and then got into franchise, working with the
Yeah, I
franchise.
did.
Like,
Yeah, so as, I heard you saying that. I was like, I interview trainers, I feel like every month, right? I'm
Mhm.
constantly interviewing trainers to keep somebody in my funnel. And I say one of the beauties of working for a franchise is that I can help you learn how to be a really good coach before you have to
Mhm.
learn about the other stuff.
mm,
As
Good.
opposed to what my experience was, is I literally joined my first personal training experience was an experienced trainer opening his gym, hiring 2 trainers, and, like, he had some clients, but it's like, we're going to networking events, like, it's you have to learn sales, you have to learn how to be a coach, you have to learn programming, like, I had to do it all at one time in order to get a
Mhm.
paycheck.
Wow.
So, like, I will share that story in that interview process of like, we have, like you said, proven tools. We have a sales process that you will learn. First, I want you to be a really good coach and learn how to take really good care of people. If that sounds great to you, let's talk more.
nice.
Right? Um, but sometimes, every once in a while, I'm like, I'm grateful for having had to learn the hard way. Right? That's part of what got me where I am today because I had to grind up front. So there's a level of like resilience um, that isn't always there. But I think that's just an individual person also, no matter how you started.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, so I like that perspective of, okay, if you want a long term place in the industry, maybe don't overlook working for a franchise, right? Because of
Mm.
the good things that can come from that's great.
Can I? I
Yeah.
think can I? I think you know this, Nate. That when I started my training career, I had no idea that Anytime Fitness had personal training.
Yeah.
I went into like an interview process. I was looking for a new to spread my wings, go somewhere else. And like I'm sitting in interviews and I flat out said, to like club owners. Like I know everybody in the industry in this area. I had no idea you guys had trainers.
Yeah. Why do you think that was? Like, is it just failure of marketing, or I'm wondering if like part of it was that we had such a different, um, almost like a different net a group. Like I don't want to say that we were uppity because we weren't, right?
It's the other way around.
But it was almost like, here's the way we do it. We do it so different than everybody else. Like we'll approach this from a different angle entirely. And so as a result, we would just like, we're just kind of doing our own thing and not maybe networking or connecting the way that we maybe should have been or could have been.
Potentially, I think it wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't necessary, but right, you have advertising and a brand and an awareness that is out there, and leaning on that as opposed to I work for all small businesses. And the only way to survive is to get out there into the
Mm,
world and network.
yeah.
Well, at any time had to change their positioning a lot because they entered the market as that first key swipe 24-hour concept and not requiring extra staff in
Right.
order to operate successfully. But as the industry caught on to that, they needed to change the way that they, you know, appeal to the community and then help the community. So they added training, but that was because of franchisees.
Mhm.
Corporate had to catch up to that. And so I feel like depending on what year you were brought in, I was brought in 2010 and it wasn't something I knew was happening either.
Mhm.
So franchisees were, I think, they definitely were the drivers in that because they knew that they had opportunity. They were creating such great relationships with their people and the people wanted more. But then it took a long time because it's such a big ship
Yeah.
to steer, for corporate to be able to create something that was scalable for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. That's when I got started with Anytime too. It was like end of
Really?
2009, beginning of
Yeah.
2010.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that was, I call it like the wild, wild west of personal training.
Mhm.
Like when I first started, and that was like the old, like the Gold's Gym, all of just like independent contractors, do whatever you want, share what you are getting from your clients with the club owner or whatever, and come on in and do whatever you want. Come and train people however you want, work when you want, like wild, wild west. And we're all like kind of ready to steal clients from each other and do whatever it takes to survive. And I think there was like this like subculture. There was like a connection. There was some small groups of owners that started talking like, hey, you should bring in trainers. You can make a little bit on what they're making, and you don't have to still do anything extra. And then it kind of turned into like, we need to systemize this. We need to clean up the wild, wild west a little bit and get some order. And maybe it was, I don't know if it was legal pressure because of the independent contractor thing and non-competes, or if it was corporately things started shifting. But I remember that time very well, and it was exciting if you were there because you had the opportunity to like become part of now a structure
Mhm.
instead of the wild wild west. And
Mhm.
I was more of the type of trainer that was just trying not to get shot versus like going after anybody else, metaphorically speaking. But yeah, it was an exciting time. So okay, so I love this. We're exploring the franchise angle a little bit, benefits of that. What else, Lindsay? Like, what from your perspective? What are some helpful skills or maybe even attitudes that would be good to just things that would serve a new trainer in the industry, like in their first year, to have that lasting, meaningful career, like a career as long as they want, not feeling like, oh man, I got to get a real job, or I've got to find something else because this just isn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah. I think if you're looking at it, I talked about getting in with something structured, but if you have more of an entrepreneurial spirit and you're interested in doing something on your own, a couple of things that am seeing that are really useful. The first thing, I told you this, Nate, last time we talked, I think Instagram and TikTok are great. And there is an untapped space in LinkedIn for sure as a trainer. And the content doesn't have to change from what you're posting on LinkedIn, in Instagram or TikTok. It doesn't have to change very much, but you can do it more in a written form. And the first thing I would recommend is just hopping in and looking at content for a little while so you can see the vibe and what people are saying. But there aren't very many people that are utilizing the audience of working people who need help too in that space. And the people who are doing that are getting a lot of traction. And so that would be my first recommendation, is to explore LinkedIn and start to look at the types of people that are in it, build your network there as well. Create a tagline that's specific to a niche group of people. So if you really like working with busy moms, or if you really like working with, people that are training for triathlons, regardless of what that is, make your tagline really specific and then create content that's teaching. And I hope that more people start doing that because I think it's a useful space to be. It has been for me in my business. The second thing I would say is to look outside the box from spaces that you typically think you could get a job training in. So if you're an independent person and you think of the investment of having to pay your rent in order to train your clients in a specific place, or creating a space of your own, like that's really expensive and it's a big investment and commitment in the beginning. There is a company, I hope he doesn't mind that I mention him. Yeah, it's called Hopperfit.
Oh, go. What was it?
It's called Hopperfit.
Okay.
It is a middleman. It's designed to make use of spaces that aren't getting used, apartment complex gyms, or corporate wellness centers that, half of the people aren't using because a lot of people are working from home more. And it is really, I think, getting some more traction in the South, but be on the lookout for companies that have a revenue share. So they get contracts with companies that have unused gym space, and then they promote and advertise and connect clients to trainers that utilize the app and then pay a royalty every month. That's pretty low. So now you've got runway to have a really nice space to train your clients in, and you also have a space that's going to promote you as a trainer. And there's lots of things like that that are happening. And I met this person on LinkedIn, so there's my other plug for LinkedIn. So kind of get creative with, rev share opportunities as a trainer, unused gym space, maybe do some searching and some digging in. But those types of companies are coming up all the time because people see opportunities within the space. The last thing I would say is to consider, I know longevity is a really hot term, and, think about it what you want. And if you are a new trainer, it's probably not something that you're thinking about right now in terms of people that are exciting to you, or a goal that you have if you are, just coming out of school. But it is so needed, and there are a lot of people within the space of their lives where they're interested in not just feeling strong, but feeling good for a long time. And if that's something that's exciting and interesting to you, or even if it's not, just do a deep dive into it and start to look at certifications or um, spaces where you can learn more about, you know, a couple of, I don't know, I hate to put like age gaps on it or say longevity as a umbrella because,
Mm,
you
yeah.
know, I don't like plugging that, but women's health is something I think if you look high level at, I'd love to learn more about that. I think that's a good place to start. Or, you know, building strength in the second half of your life, possibly.
Mm,
Um, and just to feel really confident because more often than not, you're going to get people where that's their goal. And I don't know if that is something that you learned about in school.
yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And I would think if somebody's, as they receive those three things that you just mentioned, and adding in the first piece that we discussed on, thinking about a franchise, I think the benefit of the franchise that we discussed was like some of that structure and just the tools that you would have access to. And I think even somebody who's working on their own can build those in when you have that mentality of like making things making things more structured. Not that you're a cookie cutter of someone else, but of yourself. Like how can I template this? How can I not have to keep repeating this work and start having some of my own personal like standard operating procedures instead of just everybody's different, because I do think that we learn as we're coming up, like I want this to be personal, everyone's programs. Well, if you can even niche down into a demographic like you talked about with women's health or the aging population and what they want, you can start to systemize and develop your own processes that are going to support you so much and make it easier to stick around, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I like it. And LinkedIn, I got to bow my head here because we did talk about it the last time you and I connected, and I've just been snooping around on it more. I haven't
That's
created
the first
anything
step.
for it.
Doing great.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say. I'm like, oh, I need to do better. I do think that it's we talk about qualifying, right? In the sales process, like, hey, where do you work? Right? It's like
Mhm.
that's kind of an important part of the process as you're meeting someone and determining if they're going to be a good fit. And LinkedIn, you already know. Like you don't even have to ask the question. They're there because they work.
Yeah, but then what company do they work for? Is it something local? How many people can you know, connect with at that company on LinkedIn if you search for it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Man, good. Cool.
I think like, I mean, I'm interested from both of you guys when you talk about like Nate, you asked about longevity in the space. And I think, all three of us, we could be working in different industries right now if we wanted to. We know enough about this world, and yet we've all chosen to stay with it. And I had somebody the other day ask me, are you interested in working in another space just to open up your opportunities? And I am always interested, but my knee jerk is like, "Oh, no, I just like it too much." And so I'm interested in both of your perspectives on that because it's not easy all the time.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'll let Becca go first.
Um, yeah, it's like you, right? That the opportunities arise, and you're right. Like we could all take our experiences and our skills into another industry, but we're in a passion field, right? And those of us that stick around, we stick around because of that passion, and we dive into it. Um, I couldn't do it. I could not leave. I've left and come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've left and come back a couple of times um over the years. But it's just like it's so fulfilling and there's so many opportunities to I call it pay it forward, right?
Mhm.
Um kind of just whether it's with clients or now in my role, it's with employees more so, and colleagues. But
Something you don't know about
Good.
Becca that's not readily obvious is that she could be a pro bowler, but she's decided to
Really?
stay in fitness. Yeah.
this is true. This is true.
How?
Yeah, I bowled in college, but for
I feel
college.
like you're the first person that I've met.
That happens a lot.
that-
Yeah, I paid for my undergraduate degree with college bowling.
Where did you go?
The University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire.
That's where I went.
Oh, for real?
Uh-huh. Loved it.
Look at this.
I didn't
You know-
know they had a bowling scholarship. Gosh.
Oh man, this was as their 01 to 05. So
Okay. Yeah, we overlapped a little. I was 04 to 09. Just stuck in an extra year in there. Why not?
yeah,
Sorry,
Cool.
Becca. Sorry to call you out like that, but
that's
you-
okay.
like the point is she has skills, but she's decided to stay in fitness, right?
Well, and I had a previous career,
Oh, yeah.
right? And like I know Nate did as well, right? So
Mhm.
switched careers completely because it wasn't. It didn't fit me, right? Like I wasn't fulfilled.
Yeah. For me, I just like getting paid to work out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. How many times did you hear that?
We
Right?
I
Oh,
mean
Yeah.
we know
must
some of
be
that.
nice to get paid to work out. And you're like, what are you talking? Do you know anything?
Um,
Yeah, my mom would like, how much do you get to eat a day? You're working out all day, and I'm like, I am.
No, we're not. Yeah,
we're
supposed to do
adjacent,
that.
but
I get to see the workout equipment all day. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, for me it was like such a good fit for my identity that it is hard to it's just like, no, I like how this fits for me so much that it's like, man, I'll keep trying to make a success of this. It reminds me of an Arnold Schwarzenegger. I remember seeing him talking about this, and think what you will about Arnold, but he was talking about not having a plan B. He's like, if you have a plan B, then you will always put some energy into it. Like it has a place in your head. You won't try hard enough on plan A. Like if you have a plan B, you will never succeed on A because you won't put enough into it. You'll always know, like, oh, if this doesn't work, I can go and do whatever. And that really resonates with me in terms of like the fitness industry, because like I don't know what that other thing would be. And it would have to just like take me by surprise and be pretty awesome and just be like, wow, have to do this other thing. But it's like there's no like back burner in my brain for that thing, because I want everything going to the front, to the A. Like this is it. Like I don't know what else there is. And I think sometimes that mentality might be what is necessary for success in whatever area, right? It's like, no, this is it. Like I don't know what else there is. I can't imagine. Because if I could imagine, this might not end up working out because I didn't put enough into it. Does that make sense?
it does. Yeah. And even as, I don't know, I hate to turn the mic around, but I'm just going to quickly because I think it's fun.
Yeah. We're having
I'm
a
just
conversation.
curious,
Yeah.
like, if, and I know that you both have one. There's maybe a lot of them or one that sticks out. But if there was a point or a moment or something that someone said where you like clicked in and you were thinking, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do for at least a while.
Yes. Mine was like, not, I don't know. It wasn't, I was unhappy in the industry that I was in, human resources, and
Mm,
it was super fun for a while. And then it was like, yeah, 2007, 2008, and the economy was shifting, and all of a sudden it wasn't enjoyable anymore. It was a lot of bad news and it was a lot of hard conversations. And that's when I started to be like, all right, I need a plan B. I don't really like this. And I started talking with my wife about it. And I loved reading like health magazines. Like just I worked out. I enjoyed like nutrition articles and whatever. And one day I said to my wife, I was like, you know what? I love being a personal trainer. And she was like, yes, that's like, yes, that sounds like exactly what would be great for you. And I was like, as soon as she said that, I was like, I can't believe this is gonna happen. I'm gonna make this. She's on board, it was not easy to make that transition from like full time salaried like corporate role that I had to here you go, you make $0. Welcome to the gym. But and the certification process and everything that I went through, she was super supportive all along, and that made a huge difference to me. But having her say that, like, yes, like it seemed like a good fit to both of us. That was the moment. I remember where we were in the apartment where we lived. Yeah.
Love it.
I think I have like 2 different moments. Like the first one was just having I had hired a trainer myself. um, And I don't remember how long I had worked for him, but he was like, "You could do this. Like you could be a personal trainer." And he's like, "And you would be better than most of my colleagues." And I just like I remember I looked at him and I'm like, "I could?" Like similar to Nate, was working in a corporate setting, just like not enjoying it. Like quite the opposite. So that was the impetus to like, oh, could I do this? But it probably wasn't until like one of my very first clients, and working with her after a few years actually. And like I don't know I can't remember. I have a really bad memory, but I'll never forget like Holly like looking at me and she's like, "You were meant to do this and you're gonna go places."
Oh, she
She
gave.
also thought I was gonna do TED Talks. And here we are, you know.
Hey, it's still up. It's still out there.
Maybe,
Yeah, this is a
never
good
say
runway.
never say never. But like
Absolutely.
it's so some of that comes from like people who believed in me, right?
Yeah.
And were willing to share that they believed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience when I first started. One of the
Mhm.
trainers she was like full time, doing great in the wild, wild west. And she was kind enough to be like, "You're gonna do great in this industry. You're gonna do well. I can already tell." And I was like, "What? Really? I have no clients. What are you talking about?" She's like, "If they move, they're gonna be fine. You just got to get them to move. But like, you have the ability to like inspire people and reach people." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like, if Isabel thinks that about me, then I'm good to go. So, what about you, Lindsay?
So important. I
Moment.
I was at UW Eau Claire and well into my sophomore year. No, yeah. Yeah, I was in my sophomore year. I did not have a major selected. I tried a whole bunch of different things. And um the instructor of the spin class that I was taking all the time looked at me and said, "You could do this." So very similar to you, Becca. Like, why aren't you doing this? We need people. And kind of looked behind me, like, are you talking to me? Um, turns out it was pretty easy to get the training to become a spin instructor. And it just felt like something I was born to do. I loved it. I loved creating my playlist. I had my Christmas lights in my little dark spin room. And um, yeah, it was just the most fun job. And I didn't think that it could be a job. But then I had some students that would come up to me and say, "I look forward to this all week," or "I was just going through a really tough breakup and I needed this class today. And this is the best thing. I love it." And so it sounds really simple, but it just clicked in me. Like, I would love to continue to create this feeling for people. And I am having so much fun doing it.
Mm.
And again, I know it sounds simple, but there was something in that feeling that it created in me where I looked into changing my major again for maybe the 5th time, and that one stuck.
Oh, you know what? As you were saying that, I love the word fun. I don't,
Mhm.
and I think that's something that we could probably talk more about here because we're just processes, and that's maybe where my brain goes. But absolutely, I think so many times I've said it, and I'm sure Becca's heard me say it. I'm like, we're not digging ditches here. Like, we're not on a factory line.
Yeah.
We're having like this is fun. Like, let's not lose sight of that. And I think that is something that brings us all into it to begin with. So
Right.
awesome.
Well, and there is something into having interest, you know. I worked with some students a couple of years ago at a local university, and I saw the same thing. It was a little bit different, but it was similar where a they had a positive experience with activity. Most of it was sports. And you could see how much it lit them up, and they were so interested in continuing that path and spreading the feeling that was ignited in them.
Mm.
Um, and that's real. I mean, movement is fun, but it also creates so much enjoyment and personal confidence. And um, I I think and fear that maybe young people don't know how to quantify that past what they've done in their high school setting, or, you know, if they're in college doing,
Yeah.
you know, that activity. But it's real. It's just hard for them to maybe put a finger on.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be a job. This can be a career.
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
Cool. I think that's a great place to just kind of leave off. But before we sign off here, Lindsay, could you just tell someone who's listening that wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
I think LinkedIn is my last plug. Everything I do is there.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So you
Gotcha.
can look for me, my first and last name, Lindsey Calof on LinkedIn. That would be my preference, please.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for having a little
This was
coffee
so
and
fun.
fitness industry chat here. This was great.
I loved it.
Me too.